الحمد لله الذي من علينا بالدين وفضلنا على كثير ممن خلق تفضيلا، والصلاة والسلام على سيد خلق الله محمد بن عبد الله صلوات الله وسلامه عليه، ما ذكره الذاكرون وما غفل عن ذكره الغافلون. أما بعد، إخواني الطلاب وأخواتي السيدات، أحييكم بتحية الإسلام. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. We glorify Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and we seek His choices, benedictions and salutations upon our dear Prophet Muhammad, upon his followers and upon all those who follow their guidance until the day of resurrection. Mr. Chairman, Madam Chairperson, our respectable sister Hajia, Khadija, and all our former speakers, very wonderful delivery. May Allah help you. And I was very inspired by your words. And our sister Hafsa here, the main organizer, I've not seen her before, but I got to know that she is the brain and the spiritual power and the moral will behind this organization. May Allah bless her. And no doubt, my brother HAFIZ, who is now in Canada with his family, he's been here. He has invited me here several times to meet the brothers. But what I'm missing today, we used to have this section of the block being filled with our Muslim brothers. I don't know whether they are no more on campus. And then we have only one Muslim brother to take care of a lot of sisters. And I think you have a lot of work to do. Respected sisters, it's a beautiful section. I'm very humbled to be here. And I thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for accepting this. So when we traveled and we came back with my Imam Harun, and we're all very down and sick. And then I had that invitation from Brother HAFIZ in Canada. If I had considered my health situation at the time, I would have refused it. But I hope that before the 28th of April, inshallah, I'll be fit enough to come here. So we thank Allah for making it easy for us to come here. This is an opportunity we always long for. Not to give a speech. I don't think I'm going to give a speech or a lecture. I'm just going to do what the sisters did before and advise a section we share among ourselves, so that we all will wake up here with a message going back home and to know our real essence and importance and significance as Muslim sisters. A lot of our sisters came here to read beautiful Quran. May Allah bless them also. And I pray that inshallah we all will make a lot of efforts to improve our recitation of the Quran. But their delivery has been very wonderful. May Allah bless them so much. This is the era that fit into the recitation of Imam Harun. La asima al-yawma min amrillah illa man rahim. I have just decided to make this the opening of my delivery. La asima al-yawma min amrillah illa man rahim. A narration of a very important historical event that changed the whole nature of the world at the time. The flood of Nuh alayhi salam. After he preached for over 1,000 years, his people refused to accept the message of Allah, and Allah decided to punish them by flood. The flood came, and only a few believers that believe in him, less than 90 people in 1,000 years. Less than 90 people in 1,000 years. They were carried on the ship, and some few selected animals. Nuh alayhi salam was on board of the ship, saw his son in the flood. He said, Ya bunayya arkam ma'ana. Oh my son, climb with us. Climb the boat of safety, salvation. Today, nothing will save you. What did the son say? Sa'awi ila jabalin ya'simuni min al-ma. I am swimming to this mountain so that the mountain will save me from the water. What was Nuh reply? La asima al-yawma min amri Allah illa man rahim. There is no salvation today from the affair of Allah except he that Allah has bestowed his mercy. وَحَالَ بَيْنَهُمَا الْمَوْجُ فَكَانَ مِنَ الْمُغْرَقِينَ. Then a wave of water separated between them, tore them apart, and he was part of those that were carried away by the flood. Carried away by the flood. Today, the waves of the end times flowing against belief and believers. If you are not strong enough, it will carry you away. The waves are so strong that practicing Iman, practicing your deen, you tend to lack confidence in what is right and what conforms to humanity. How can you feel shy for being normal? You feel shy for being normal when you find yourself in a country or a region or a place of mad people. The only normal person become the livestock. They laugh at him. Is it not true? Fitrat Allah allati fatara an-nas alayha. The religion of Allah, Islam, it is the natural disposition He has created humankind upon. So what are you doing? Of bowing to Allah, wearing the hijab, hijabating, and veiling yourself, your beauty, when you go out, that is the natural disposition upon which Allah created humankind upon. Any other thing other than this practice is abnormal, it's inhuman, and it's against the natural disposition of Allah. Don't let anybody deceive you. And that is the kind of ideology the Western civilization has imposed on the current world. And it is only the Muslim women who are standing against that waves of misguidance. So I don't know, what are you going to hold upon? The waves is flowing against you. You are in the society, the whole workplace is flowing against her. She is going through a lot. Our sister sitting here, she is going through a lot. You are going through a lot, still in the stage of being harnessed to be in the workplace. And that struggle is going to continue until we are laid in our graves. Continue to cover, so that the day you be sent to the grave will not be the first time you are covering or you have been covered. Because surely anyone that refuses to be covered will be covered when sending to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is the waves facing all of us. In the midst of water, what are you going to hold upon? The water is carrying everything away. What are you going to hold upon? What is going to be your strength? What are you going to hold upon? Your Iman. That Iman should come from the book of Allah. And you make yourself as a creation of Allah, ready to follow His commandments. And be ready to go through anything at all and all challenges. But you make sure you follow the ways of Allah. You please only Allah and not the world. La asim al-yawm. The Prophet was talking about this era. He says, there are two people that will come. I have not seen them. اثنين من أهل النار لم أرهما. 1445 years ago, our dear Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, he mentioned that there are two categories of the people of hell I have not seen. But they will come. They will come. Two categories of people. He has not seen them because of what? Why was the Prophet saying that he didn't see those categories of the people of hell? I said, this is not a lecture. I'm going to make it like some kind of, I want to make it interactive. I will ask questions, and there are financial awards for those that will answer my questions. When I come to hijab, I'm going to make sure the discussion we have today is, initially, when I heard when I saw the flyer, I thought I'll be coming to discuss how to go through the psychological trauma, especially when the venue is at the trauma college. The psychological trauma that we go through, or sisters goes through, when they wear the hijab. But when I come to see the situation, and that this is a launch of a hijab, I think it should be about arming ourselves with a spiritual armament that will propel us to a stage where wearing the hijab will be viewed as following the commandment of Allah and not a lifestyle. Commandment of Allah and not a fashion design. So that at that stage, whatever challenge that is facing us, we might have armed ourselves with the necessary iman and the spiritual faith and armaments that will be able to penetrate through that waves of misguidance, waves of abnormalities that is flowing against faith in this era. So we'll look at hijab from historical perspectives. We even go to look at hijab from the biblical perspectives. And we look at what point in history has even the Christians abandoned the hijab. And then we come to look at the Quranic evidences and the wisdom behind the hijab. So why was the Prophet saying that he didn't see those people at his time? Because of what? Because those two categories were non-existent. He says there are two categories of the people of hell. I have not seen them. Because they were not there in his era. Right? Number one, he said there will be men holding canes and they will be whipping people in the markets, in the society to take their monies. This is happening in Islamic history. At a point in time, the police, there was so much political corruption that the police, they will go cane people and take their properties. And the second category, he said there are women, kasiyat, ariyat. Look at the definition, the description. He said kasiyat, ariyat. They were dressed but naked. They are dressed and yet they are what? Naked. And ma'ilat, and that their hair has turned towards one side. The hair has turned towards one side like the hump of a camel. The way it is turned towards one side. See, that's how their hairstyle will be. When you wear turned towards, they add additional hair to their hairs. And the Holy Prophet ﷺ says that these categories, he says, they will never enter the Jannah, paradise. Paradise is forbidden for them, even though the fragrance of paradise will be smelt a distance 500 miles away. And yet they will not enter paradise. So when a Muslim sister, you are approaching difficulties in wearing the hijab, you need to tell yourself that I refuse to fall into this particular category of women. Tell yourself this. I refuse to fall into this category of women. No matter how the challenge is. No matter how the difficulties is. You need to be firm. And when you are sincere, Allah makes it easier for you. Sincerity can move mountains. But if you're not sincere and you're not convinced, you are just a halfway being defeated by any force at all that tries to prevent you from your hijab. So number one, you're not sincere, you're not firm, you're not even convinced yourself. But if you are convinced and you look at the issue of hijab as life and death, surely Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will pave the way for you. Respected sisters, historically, hijab has been part and parcel of human culture. The first woman to wear hijab was who? You don't want the financial benefits. And I have awards here. Who is the first woman to wear hijab? Who is the first woman? Hawa was the first woman to wear hijab. Our mother, the mother of all humankind. Hawa. So the first person, the first woman to wear the hijab is Hawa, the wife of Adam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Taha, verse number 121, Allah says that فَأَكَلَا مِنْهَا فَبَدَتْ لَهُمَا سَوْآتُهُمَا وَطَفِقَا يَخْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهِمَا مِنْ وَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ فَطَفِقَا يَخْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهِمَا مِنْ وَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ. Allah says that فَأَكَلَا مِنْهَا, both of them ate from the forbidden tree. In Islam, the woman is not the source of evil. In Christianity, they will tell you that Eve ate from the forbidden tree and she was the source of evil, then she convinced the man to eat from that tree. No, in Islam, Islam put the blame of eating that forbidden tree on Adam. وَعَصَى آدَمُ رَبَّهُ فَغَوَى. The blame is on Adam. He was the husband and he was the vicegerent of Allah in Jannah and also the vicegerent of Allah on earth. He was the one that is supposed to make sure his family obey the commandments of Allah. So in Islam, there's nothing like there was a snake that gave the forbidden tree to Hawa. She ate it and also convinced the husband to eat it. And when the husband was about to eat it, the angels held the throat, and that became the Adam's apple in the throats of men. And the woman was punished by menstruation and childbirth. That was an attempt in Christendom to bedevil the woman as a source of evil. And in fact, at a point in time, it was being debated whether even the woman is a human being or not, making an exception of only Maryam. But today, they have turned all over and then try to put the blame, try to some kind of stereotype, a negative stereotyping of Islam, that women has been relegated to an oblivion. Women has been relegated in Islam because they wear the hijab, they have been forced to wear the hijab. When we are to pray, they pray behind men. And so it's as if Islam has relegated women to the back and the women are not allowed to education. Islam is a religion of backward intelligentsia. These are all negative stereotyping about Islam. None of it is true. And this is a time for us to project our deen and also to project the hijab as a symbol of freedom. You are the real free people. The rest, they have been subjugated with Western mentality, such that they have become callous and they have become instruments that are used to create some kind of amusement and lust in a society. And that's why even they want to advertise a phone like this. They need a picture of a naked woman behind it. If they're advertising a newly constructed or a newly manufactured car, there is a woman that will have to advertise it. Meaning the woman is just used as an instrument of advertisement. Once when you come back to Islam, we respect them. We respect our women. They are highly revered. And there are 3 times, we award them kindness 3 times to that of the man. And the one who proclaimed this was none other than the Prophet himself, who was a man and a husband. When a man came to him, he said, who among humankind deserve my kindness? He said, your mother. Then who else? He said, then your mother. Who else? He said, then your mother. Who else? After the 4th one, he said, then your father. So we are not enemies. They have created a tension between Muslim men and Muslim women, as if we relegate them. You are at our heart. You are dear to us. And that is why Muslim men, throughout history and through the time of the golden age of Islam, an army, a full army, could be prepared just to support a single Muslim woman. During the time of the Khulafa Rashidin, the Khulafa of Abbasiyya, a Muslim woman in Rome was disrespected and taken as a captive by a Roman soldier. And she stood in the market and call out the Muslim Khalifa at the time, the Muslim Caliph at the time. He said, Ya Gawtha, Ya Mu'tasima, Ya Gawtha, calling the Muslim leader at the time, Mu'tasim Billah. And do you know what happened? Who has an idea what happened during that time? So you don't want any award from me. Subhanallah. Who has an idea? Al-Mu'tasim Billah, he prepared an army to support this Muslim woman who sought his help. He prepared an army. The first of the army, the first of the soldiers, when the army, they move out, like soldiers today, they are in some kind of, they march. The first one following by the second one in that order. The first soldier was in Rome, and the last soldier was still in Baghdad. If you know your worth in the heart of Muslim men, and you know your worth in the Quran, you will never and ever joke with yourself. If you know your worth as a Muslim woman, you may just be biologically as any other woman outside. But the faith that you have ascribed to, the hijab that you're wearing, has given you such honor in the heart of Muslim men, in the heart of Islamic institutions, and it has given you that great honor in the estimation of Islam in such a way that pleasing our mothers, they say Jannah is under the feet of our mothers. Jannah under the feet of the mothers. And you see great Muslims, leaders, before going to work every day, some of them goes down with their suit and kiss the feet of their mothers before proceeding to the office. But if you don't know your worth, sometimes you may throw yourself away to be fed on by scavengers without knowing, because you don't know your worth. So historically, the hijab has been part of all human beings, cutting across ages, societies. It is a historical thing that cut across all religions. But the beautiful aspect is that it is only Muslims today who are the only living, practicing group of people who still practice the teachings of all prophets. All the rest have given up. All the rest have given up. The Jews gave up intentionally. The Christians gave up ignorantly. It is only the Muslims left. And do you know what happened in Christendom in Vatican in the 19th century? You will never find anywhere a Christian lady going to church without veiling. Nowhere. Even before Islam, the Arab women used to veil. But their veil, we'll come to talk about it when we start looking at the Quranic evidences about veiling. They used to cover their hairs. But the hijab in Islam is a step ahead of theirs. No woman goes to the church without veiling. You read the book of Corinthians, chapter 11, verse 3. It says that if a woman prophesies before God with her hair uncovered, then she should go and shave the hair. It's a dishonor to herself to go before God, their Lord, to prophesy, that is to pray without covering your hair. That it is as though it's better for her to cover to shave her hair. It is more violent even in the Bible than the Quran. That hair has no inner honor to stand before God with your hair uncovered. So if you want, the Christians want to practice this, every Sunday they'll bring scissors, stand by the church, and be shaving the women coming inside to the church without their hair being covered. All of their hair is supposed to be shaved according to the Bible. The Bible said any woman that will go to the church without her hair being covered, the hair should be shaven. Read the book of Corinthians. And in Vatican, they have issued out journals and articles reminding Christian women the need for them to veil. And there are now some kind of campaigns going on in Europe, in many parts of Europe, still preaching. If you go to the internet, you see this. Still following up, advocating veiling of Christian women. So it has been part and parcel of all teachings of prophets that the women, they veil when they want to stand before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in Islam, all aspects of our life is worship. So historically, the veiling is part and parcel of human life. Hawa was the first woman to veil. In that verse we're talking about, Allah said, فَأَكَلَ مِنْهَا, both of them ate from the tree. فَبَدَتْ لَهُمَا سَوْآتُهُمَا. So when they ate from that tree, what happened was that Allah gave them a clothing that is more in resemblance to what we have today, like the fingers. Like we have our fingers here. You see? Then it covers their body. They were not having physical clothes that we have, but there was some kind of a spiritual cloth that was veiling them and covering them. When they ate the tree and disobeyed Allah, فَبَدَتْ لَهُمَا سَوْآتُهُمَا, they found that their private parts were exposed. فَطَفِقَا يَخْصِفَانِ عَلَيْهِمَا مِنْ وَرَقِ الْجَنَّةِ. Allah says that طَفِقَا يعني بَدَأَ, they started covering themselves with leaves of trees in Jannah. They start plucking the leaves of trees and covering themselves. If it was normal for a woman or for people to go naked, they wouldn't have seen the need. But anybody in his natural or her natural disposition will find it very necessary, very humane to cover the body in the private parts. So Adam and the wife, Hawa, she was the first woman to veil in this world. And she is the one we're supposed to take as our role model. We come back to Islam. Islam came in a society, the Arabian society, and they were having a culture already. The culture of Arabs at the time was that they wear the veil. They cover their hair as well. Women who are not slaves, there's no way they will leave their hair uncovered. It's the slave girls who are serving their masters who sometimes leave their hair uncovered. Even among this category of women, it is very difficult for them to do that. But their veiling system, I didn't bring my veil. I always used to wear this Saudi veil. And when I was coming, I forgot of it in the house. I wanted to demonstrate to you. They wear the veil and leaving it behind. So their necks are exposed. These are setting the parameters for what actually veiling is in Islam. Some women today, the same thing they do, probably because you're in the program, if you're outside, some people, they will just put a headscarf and the hair is exposed and the chest, everywhere is exposed. That's how women in Jahiliyyah used to wear. They cover it. They wear the veil, leaving the hair like this, and then they leave it behind. Their necks and their bosoms are all exposed. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, He reminded Muslim women to start wearing the veil. And that was in the 4th or 5th year after migration of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So in which year was the hijab legislated in Islam? I just mentioned it. Which year? I don't know whether you are paying attention. Which year was the hijab legislated? I just mentioned it right now. Do you feel shy to answer questions? Huh? Subhanallah. Why are you not paying attention? I said, which year? Anybody can answer. Even if you are an invited guest. I said, which year? In the 5th year of Hijrah. In the 5th year of what? The 5th year of what? Do you know Hijrah? Ta'rifuna man al-Hijrah? Do you know Hijrah? What is Hijrah? Why Sister Hafsa? I think your ladies are not with me today. Nobody wants to answer a question. Where is she? Hafsa. What is Hijrah? Yes. From Riyadh to Medina. Migration of who? Muhammad. Takbir. Takbir. Hijrah is what? The migration of the Muslims, the Prophet Muhammad. The Prophet what? Muhammad. Always mention the Prophet Muhammad. Allah himself never called him Muhammad. He called him my Prophet. So the Prophet Muhammad from Medina, from Mecca to Medina. This is called Hijrah. This is called what? Hijrah. Who has, during whose reign have they taken the Hijrah as the Islamic calendar? During whose era has the Hijrah been taken as a focal point from which the Islamic calendar is calculated. For this, anybody that answer this question, we'll take him to Umrah next year. No, they heard me. This is that they laugh. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. I know others are googling. Whose era? It was taken during the time of Umar bin Khattab, during the end of who? Umar bin what? Bin Khattab. So we knew now, we've gotten the information about when the hijab was legislated in Islam. It was in the 4th or 5th Hijrah that the verse came. And what was the verse? The first verse was Surah An-Nur, verse 31. Surah An-Nur, verse what? You need to get this. Once you want to wear the hijab, you need to be armed with these proofs and evidences. There was a time, somewhere 2009, I was watching an interview by Gifty Auntie. She was interviewing one sister from Formwag, and then another lawyer, a Muslim lawyer called Nafisa. Not a Nafisa here, but one Nafisa was a legal practitioner. And Gifty Auntie invited both of them to talk about the hijab in Islam. And that also led so much controversy in Ghana at the time. They were talking about the hijab. And this Muslim lawyer says that Nafisa, she said the hijab is anti-Islam. It's not in Islam. There's nowhere in the Quran has Allah said the women should wear the hijab. And the Muslim woman who came to represent the pro-hijab, the pro-hijabi guest, she couldn't defend it. She couldn't prove it. She said she knows the hijab is a symbol of purity, is an identity, like many of you would like to say, the hijab is my identity as a Muslim woman, and the hijab is a symbol of purity and modesty. But what is the proof? Are you able to defend it? Are you able to talk about it? Are you able to convince somebody? Many Muslim sisters don't know. Many of them can quote for you a verse or a hadith that talk about that. At the fingertips. You need to have it at the fingertips. Without records to even the Quran. Have it. Surah An-Nur, verse what? 31. Surah An-Nur, verse what? Repeat it 3 times. Surah An-Nur. Are you done? Are you done? Surah An-Nur, verse 31. Never forget about it. And Surah An-Nur, the chapter of light is a chapter of women. Umar bin Khattab, he encouraged women to learn and read Surah An-Nur, because it was this surah, this particular chapter, that came to exonerate Aisha, the mother of the believers, when she was during the story of the Ifk, when there was a false news that spread that she had a marital conjugation outside marriage with someone else. The popular story, I'm sure many of you knows this particular story. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed 10 verses. Inna alladhina ja'u bil ifki usbatun minkum. 10 verses, full page, exonerating her from that particular allegations. That is called Surah An-Nur. So the Prophet said women should read this. This surah came to defend women, and it came to confer an honor on women that was not before. So in this particular surah, in verse 31, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gave a very detailed commandment to women. Allah started by talking about وَكُلِّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Like our last but second reciter recited it. May Allah bless her so much, and bless the first reciter as well. He said, كُلِّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. I want you to count this. كُلِّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. We are all being given obligation, men and women. The Quran came to give all of us equal obligations. So spiritually, men are not better than women, and women are not better than men. Spiritually. It is biologically our activities are diverse. Our responsibilities differ. Someone may be the manager under somebody. But that is just administrative roles, and that does not reflect on who is better than the other. You need to get it well. This is one of the misconceptions about Islam. That men, in Islam, men are better than women. Women are not equal to men. We are all equal spiritually. It is when it comes to assigning roles. Allah has given us tougher roles and has made us one with the other administrators over women. But that doesn't mean spiritually you are better. The Prophet mentioned that one pious woman can be better than 1,000 men who are not pious. One pious woman is better than 1,000 men who are not pious. So a woman could be better than a man, and a man can be better than a woman in the sight of Allah. But our activities are diverse. We have different roles. We have tougher roles, administrative roles to play. And that is not a reflection of who is better than the other. May Allah give us understanding. In Surah An-Nur, Allah started with men. Say, كُلِّ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Tell believing men to lower their gaze from looking at haram, to lower their gaze. وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. And to preserve their private parts. ذَلِكَ أَزْكَى لَهُمْ. That is more pure to them. That is more what? Pure to them. Lower your gaze. You don't have to cast your gaze anyhow. Whatever we see is stored in our brains. Whatever you see is stored in your brains. And when it's stored in your brains, it reflects in the heart. And the heart is what pumps the blood. So if you have seen a lot of filthy images, these are stored in your brains. And whenever the brain relaxes, the brain keeps to remove, to shoot out these messages that have been seen throughout the day. And when the messages keep shooting up, the heart reacts by taking a position. And the position of the heart circulates through the blood. And the blood gives messages to the necessary part of the body that is supposed to act upon that particular message. So if it is a message of sorrow, then before you realize you are feeling very remorse and sorrowful. And if you have to cry, then you see some people cry. If it is a message that has to do with the opposite sex, it sends the messages, the bloods are pumped to the private parts, and before you realize, the private parts start acting and you cannot sleep. And once you cannot sleep, what happened to a young man? You're not married. You have watched a lot of dirty things. What happened to you? That is a step towards fornication. May Allah save all of us. That is why the Quran started by saying, يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. It is connected. If you don't protect the eyes, you cannot protect and preserve the private parts. Forget about it. If you want to live a pure life, clean your brains. Clean your brains of filthy images and videos and watching the opposite sex. There's no way. Your faith cannot withstand that when it is released. So the best way is al-ghadd al-basar. Protecting your eyes. Lower your gaze. And that is why all the two verses, both the verse talking about men, the first commandment is يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ. Ghadd al-basar. وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. If you don't do the first one, you cannot be sure of the second one. That is preservation of the private part. The men, we have two obligations here. Preserve the eyes, protect the private part, and that is purer for you. It came to the sisters. Allah says, وَكُلِّ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ. This verse, I hope that all of you will memorize this verse and its meaning. The next time we are meeting, inshallah, you should all be able to recite it in this class. وَكُلِّ الْمُؤْمِنَاتِ. Go and memorize it in the house. يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُنَّ. You see, here we equal with men. Tell believing women to cover to lower their gaze, the same as men, and to protect their private parts, the same as men. But the women, Allah added them more responsibilities. وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. And they should not make apparent their beauty. They should not open up their beauty. They should not release their beauty except what is apparent thereof. Why has the woman been charged to restrain her beauty? Because there are two people involved here. You have the men who are the seekers. All the time they are the seekers. And we have the women who are the sought after. We have the talib and matlub. The talib are the men. He said, lower your gaze. You lower your gaze. And preserve your private part. And the sought after to lower your gaze. Don't also see men. The women also don't see men. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam once upon a time was with his wife. What was his wife? Aisha, and then Salama and Maimuna. Then Ibn Maktoum, this popular blind man who was the muazzin of the Prophet. No, he was blind. Yes, he came to visit the Prophet. He came to the Prophet. And the Prophet told his wife that, guard yourself away from him. And they told the Prophet, but he is a blind man. He cannot see us. And the Prophet said, if he cannot see you, can't you also see him? So the issue is not just men see you. So you wear hijab. You don't see men as best as you can. You don't see men. Yet we are here seeing each other. That is the condition that we are not able to fight over because of the situation we find ourselves here in the time. But we try as best as we can, not just to wear the veil and you think you are finished. Try as best as you can to be separated from men. Somebody can wear the veil and yet she don't have any problem at all working with men, sitting with them, and being with them in solitude, alone, and there's no third person. When you are doing this, you are destroying yourself. Because what may happen there is beyond your spiritual strength. Don't give it a chance. If you can, don't give it a chance. Continue to lose their veils upon their chest and their faces and their necks. That is khumr. What is khumr? Allah said, وَلِيَضْرِبْنَا Darb. He says, وَلِيَضْرِبْنَا. We all know darb is to beat. But is it about beating here? The real meaning of the Arabic word darb is when something touches something. The contact, the connection between two things. If something comes in contact with something, that is darb. So Allah used that to describe the veil that women are supposed to wear. So وَلِيَضْرِبْنَا. They should let loose their veils to touch their bodies, to come in contact with their bodies. Ala jiyubihin, on their jiyub. What is jiyub? Jiyub is not the normal jayb, pocket that you know. You know, why is it called pocket? Pocket is called jayb in Arabic because there's an opening there. So any kind of opening is called jayb. And the plural form is called jiyub. So the jiyub Allah mentioned here is when the women, they wear the veil, there's an opening here. You know, when they wear the jilbab, the dress. See that opening here, it is called jayb. When they wear the veil, the opening here is called jayb. These openings are called jayb. Especially as I was telling you, the women in Jahiliyyah, they wear the veil covering here, but they let it go behind their back, leaving the face, the neck, and their chest open, and they go out. So Allah described these three places as the jiyub, the face, the neck, and the chest. And He says that when they wear the veil, they should let loose the veil to cover. It will cover up to this side. The openings here will cover, covering their chest, their necks, and that will let loose to cover their chest as well. That is the jiyub Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was talking about. So وَلِيَضْرِبْنَا بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جِيُوبِهِنَّ. And why has the word khamr been used in this verse? Khumr. وَلِيَضْرِبْنَا بِخُمُرِهِنَّ. Khumr is from the Arabic word khamr. And what is the meaning of khamr? Khamr means something that covers. And alcohol is called khamr because it covers one intellect. That's the main work of alcohol. One intellect is covered. And they call him sukara. He loses his intellect and focus and balance. He loses equilibrium. He is not able to know what he's doing. So he's been intellectually covered, such that he's not able to determine what is in front of me. They actually don't know what exactly is in front of them. I remember a story that happened to one of our masters in JHS so many years ago. And I'm sure the student, he narrated a story, but the student said it happened to he himself. He was telling us that a drunkard came and in front of him was a gutter. And he was, because he was in a state of intoxication. He was intoxicated and his intellect was covered. Even the eyes can't see well. If the intellect is covered, even the eyes cannot see well. So he was addressing the gutter and he was saying that, you gutter, I can cross you. Then he comes back and said, I cannot cross you. He moves forward, seeing the gutter, said, I can cross you. Come back and said, I cannot cross you. Then he finally gave it a try by jumping. And when he jumped and fell inside the gutter, he said, didn't I tell you that I cannot cross you? That is a state where his intellect is covered. So he doesn't even know whatever he's doing about. So Allah said, فَلْيَضْرِبْنَا بِخُمْرِهِنْ. And Allah used the same word khamar to describe the veil. And the veil is called khimar. Khimar from khamar. It means something that covers. Something that covers. It covers the woman. So Allah said, فَلْيَضْرِبْنَا. That khamar, that khumurhin, that khimar, that veil, it should be let loose to cover their faces and to cover their necks. There are so many proofs from the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ that shows that even women used to cover their faces. Aisha radiallahu anha says that when this particular verse was revealed, the women of Ansar, he said, these are the best women I have come across. Why? Because they always hasten to follow the commandment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So when this verse was revealed, say the tall portions of their dresses down, the tall portions of their garments, and the fakhammarna bihinna, the tall portions of their dresses, and then they covered their faces and their necks with it. Immediately the verse was revealed, they hastened to implement it. But we are now in a state where we've been Muslim for so many years, and we are not convincing each other to appreciate the hijab. And you can start it from today. The hijab, if you wore it for the sake of Allah, you are going to feel the symptoms of freedom and liberation from today. You have been liberated from shaitan, and you have been liberated from the society where you have to live up to the standard or up to the request of the society. Why will you punish yourself? I see so many women being punished when I'm in a car driving to work. I see women even in their car still applying makeups in the car. Their main aim is how to live up to the dictation of men's commendations at work. You look this, you look that, and they continue their whole life pleasing this man until the day they meet Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What are you going to get from the men you have been pleasing throughout your life? What are you going to do? Are they going to be with you in the grave? But if you start wearing the hijab, you will never care about pleasing anybody except your Lord. You go to work, what you are going there to do is to contribute with your brains to the progress of the work, and not to contribute your beauty to the commendation of your colleague staffs. If you start to wear the hijab, you will feel symptoms of respect, especially when you implement the spiritual aspect of the hijab. Hijab has two aspects. The physical aspect is just the normal wearing. Alhamdulillah, everybody here is physically covered. Physically. Some to some extent. Some are here to understand what is the covering for. Your feet as part of your covering. If you pray with your feet exposed, your salah is not accepted. Many of you don't know this, right? That if a woman pray with her feet exposed, she don't have salah. All the four schools of thought mention this. So be very careful about your prayers. Your feet is not part. The aura of a woman in salah is her face and hands. The feet is not part. The feet is part of aura. If you pray and your feet is uncovered, your prayer is not accepted. So you wear a veil, a dress that will let loose when you are to pray, and try to live up to that even outside. This is a very surprising thing. I've been telling people about it. It's very scary. The first time I came across my son, never paid attention to it. The only thing we know is the face and the hands. But we never care about our feet. It's part of your aura in salah. If it is exposed, the prayer is not answered. May Allah give us understanding. Shall I bring my proposition to an end? I said it's not going to be a lecture. I wanted it to be some kind of an advice to my younger sisters, and that try your best to live up to that great obligation. You look at the hijab as a commandment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's not a lifestyle. It's not a dress that you feel like wearing. You see, Allah commanded you to pray. The same Allah commanded to wear the hijab. So our first verse on hijab, Surah An-Nur, verse number 31. The second verse on the hijab, Surah Al-Ahzab, verse number 59. Ahzab, verse number 59. Repeat it 10 times. Ahzab. Repeat it. Loudly. Please do it sincerely. Ahzab, verse number 59. In that verse, Allah told the Prophet, وَقُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيُّ كُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّبِيُّ. Allah commanded the Prophet ﷺ that he should tell the believing, he should tell his wife and his daughters and the women of believers. The women of what? Believers. Ya ayyuhan nabiyyu kulli azwajik. Oh Prophet, tell your wives, wa banatik, and your daughters, wa nisa'il mu'minin, and the women of believers, the wives, daughters, sisters, aunties, grandmothers of believers. Tell all of them, yudinina alayhinna min jalabibihin. They use their jalbab is this type of dress. A jalbab is a long dress, a long wide dress that has an opening here. That has an opening. They should let it loose from their head downwards. Yudinina alayhinna min jalabibihin. Allah went further to talk about the hikmah behind this, the wisdom behind this. So ذَلِكَ أَدْنَا أَنْ يُعْرَفْنَا فَلَا يُؤْذَيْنَ. That is more closer for them to be identified as believing women, and they will never be molested. It is more closer to be identified as what? Believing women. When they see you, any respectable man will respect a sister who is veiled and properly dressed. And if you want to be respected, the best way to live among your colleague men because of education and work is for you to give them a distance, a respectable distance, not out of arrogance. You may be very polite, as the sister mentioned, very polite, very intelligent. You use polite words. You can be free with them, but you make sure you have red lines. Nobody touches you. Nobody disrespects you with his words or insult you, play with you, touch any part of your body. But that will depend on your actions, the way you relate with men. And also the best way for men to live with women is the same thing. You respect the sisters. You speak politely to them. You don't touch them, because if you touch a woman, she will hit you back. Women are such that whatever you give them, they multiply it for you. If you want to enjoy staying with your wife, respect her. She will respect you back. Any sister at all you come across, just respect her, she will respect you. If you disrespect her, she will multiply it for you. The women, they receive and multiply it for you and give it back to you. If you make her a queen, she'll make you a king. If you make her a respected brother, sister, she'll make you a respected brother. And that's how they are. So that is how we're supposed to live among ourselves on campuses. You can study with people in a class, but you study at a distance. There's that respect, and there's that kind of spiritual veil between them. Besides the physical veil, you are launching today. Start the journey of the spiritual hijab as well. One last thing I want to advise myself and all of us is, do not be deceived that the veil can prevent you from achieving any excellence in your particular field, in your various fields. The hijab will never prevent you. Have it in mind. Muslims, they were the pioneers of science and inventions, technological inventions in the golden age of Islam from the 18th to the 15th century. It was the Muslim civilization that served as the conveyance that transported Greek philosophy to Western civilization. Without the Muslim civilization, there wouldn't be Western civilization. And so when you see a lot of history and a lot of discussions, especially international relations, they are talking about the Western Renaissance as if it just jumped from Greek philosophy and Greek civilization to Western civilization. That vacuum that existed, nobody tells you anything that happened there. That was the vacuum filled by the Islamic civilization, but they won't tell you that. The Muslims were the pioneers in inventions. Read about that. I had a lecture in Winneba here, the campus, about the Muslim civilization and its contribution to the world. You see a Muslim woman like Fatima al-Fihri. You know, the first person to establish a university or a school for learning, an educational system for learning, was a Muslim woman called Fatima al-Fihri. Called what? In the city of Kairawan. In the city of what? In Fez, in Morocco. Fatima al-Fihri. She used her estate, her inheritance she inherited from the father, and established a central mosque and created a madrasa in it, institution. According to the Guinness World Record and according to UNESCO, that is the oldest university in the world, the University of Kairawan. This is something that is documented, and do not be deceived that Islam relegates women to the background. Women has been the pioneers. They have never been left out in any field, in education, in science, even in battles and military operations. Women has not been left behind. So do not accept that. The first person to establish a school, today that school is hosting more than 12,000 professors and academic staffs working. Who is a founder? A Muslim woman, Fatima. There are a lot of things we share about the achievements of Muslim women, and time will not permit us. I pray to Allah to bless you, to bless your parents who are funding your education, and I pray to Allah to give all of you academic excellence. One of the unique tools that you can defeat and you can be able to live up to the dictates of your deen is when you have academic excellence and hard work. Excel academically and be very hardworking, like the sisters mentioned in their presentations. Academic excellence will make you to be respected academically. When they see your results, they know that this is a great product, this is a great brain, wouldn't like to lose her. When they see you're hardworking, like the sister mentioned, you come early, no laziness, always ready to take responsibilities, how can they do away with you? They will now have to bear with the dictates of your deen, your faith, wearing the hijab. They cannot do without you. But imagine with you being a Muslim woman, and you are academically poor, and you are lazy, you are not up to task. What do you want them to do with you? Already they hate you for being a Muslim woman. Put that aside. Coming to your academic performance is bad. And on top of that, you exhibit lazy behavior, no respect at work or in school. What would they do to you? Definitely you know why they are going to throw you. There was this sister, the daughter of Sheikh Muzu, Maryam. She attended Presby. She attended this school by what? Central University. They have a nursing college. Central University. Yes. She did nursing in the school. Either Presbyterian University or nursing, Central University. She did nursing in the school. And whenever they go for the internship, because of the veil, she loses mark for the veil. Just for the veil. And yes, she was ready. But she was academically very good. She emerged as the overall best in the nursing college. And they want to deny her. Because of her, in their third year, they brought another Christian woman, girl, to come and compete with her because she had no competitor in the class, in the college. So they brought the lady to come and compete with her. And yet, she couldn't match her. So, she was notified that she is the overall best. But prior to the graduation, they changed it to someone else. So she cried home, told the father. The father was telling me this. So they sat home and recited the Quran. The father told him, look, there's nothing we can do. Let's come together and read the Quran. They came together, read the Quran, and the following day, she was very surprised that her position was restored and reinstated. She was given the best in the school because it says the CEO of the school said, no, this lady, even though a Muslim, started with us from first year to last year. How can we give it to someone who came in the third year? Of course, her previous school will claim some of her achievement. So they had no choice but to give to Maryam, a Muslim woman, a Muslim sister emerging as overall best in a nursing college in a Christian university. Why? Because she deserved it and they couldn't deny her what she deserved, especially with the spiritual power behind her. When you go out, pray, do 2 rakah in your house before leaving. In your room, do some 2 rakah. Oh Allah, help me. Help me with my hijab. Help me at work. Help me to understand. Oh Allah, help me. Always do that. Do istighfar. Do some askar. Read the Quran and pray. Inshallah, when you do this, wallahi, no force can be able to deter you. Nothing can prevent you from reaching the great heights. And Allah will make sure you succeed. May Allah bless all of you. Make all of us successful. Bless your parents and anybody behind your education. May Allah bless all of you. Give us the real understanding of the hijab. The hijab is supposed to be worn completely covering all parts of your body. Let's understand this. Go home with that message. Surah An-Nur, verse number 33, 31. And Surah Al-Ahzab, verse number 59. And then there are other ones. Surah An-Nur, again, we have verse number 59. Allah said, وَإِذَا سَأَلْتُمُوهُنَّ مَتَاعًا فَاسْأَلُوهُنَّ مِنْ وَرَاءِ حِجَابٍ ذَلِكَ أَطْهَرُ لِقُلُوبِكُمْ وَقُلُوبِكُمْ. But these 2 verses are very important for you to arm yourself with it. Inshallah, the next time we share about hadiths, not talk about this. May Allah bless all of you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Takbir. Takbir. Okay, please, Sheikh is here. If you have any question or any clarification about what he said, you can come to the podium to do that before we continue. Is there any other person?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh, please, my question is not about the hijab, but you said something about covering when we are praying. You see, some of our dresses, you see, it will belong though, but when you go for ruku, you get to know that you see your feet. In this case, can you put on socks? Or we just have to put on a dress that will cover it?
Please, let's ask all our questions so that Sheikh will come and answer them at once for us.
It's about when you were introducing Sheikh, he said a lot about Sheikh. And per Islam concern, Sheikh has been into so many institutions and he has been to a lot of places. And my question is that whenever there is law or everything passes in a judiciary to cover the students or whatever, is there anybody or organization there to enforce it or go run to see that whatever the law is saying or helping the case in the school has been enforced or it has been held? That's my question.
All right, thank you very much for the question. I think.
Assalamu alaikum. Please, my concern about the veil is my second time wearing the veil in campus here. I'm the one working with one of the tutors. I always sweep her room and other things. So they sent me to go and give a key to her. The way she talked to me, to be honest and sincere, I was very, very sad. Because she was even on phone when I sent the key to her. She did her hand like this and she was telling me that what am I wearing? Like head to toe. So I was so embarrassed to myself. But due to that, I can see that my sisters were on top here, but they were observing us, whatever the woman was having the conversation with me. So I was very bad and I even lose confidence, to be honest. My sister can even bear me out because it will be like some few weeks I'm not been wearing the veil for what she have said. But through today's program, I promised Allah that I'll keep on to put it on. Thank you.
Atakbir.
Our dear sister, and the first speaker, I think the second speaker, is it Zainab or Fatima? Fatima, right? Yeah, Fatima, mashallah. May Allah bless our sister and protect her, strengthen her, and make her a guidance to many Muslim sisters in the world. And I pray that inshallah you and other sisters who spoke here, you will continue to make it as part of the things that you'll be doing to meet Muslim sisters in ladies section alone, talk them, continue to inspire them, and inshallah we'll continue to learn more, and then inshallah you can be a sort of inspiration to them, and you can inshallah seek scholarships to study more in Saudi and many other countries so that you become an authority in Islam, inshallah, bi'idhnillah. First, she asked a question about the issue of covering the feet during prayers. Maybe you have worn a long dress, and then when you are to do sujood, probably the back will be lifted small that your feet will be exposed. So what do you do? Can you wear socks? Say yes, you can wear socks. You can wear socks when you want to pray. You can have socks. You wear it when you are to pray. It's very, very important. And that when you are to pray, you wear socks. If you cannot wear a long dress that will cover you, wear socks. When the Holy Prophet ﷺ was talking about wearing a dress that goes beyond your knees, your ankle, the Prophet said, whoever wore a dress that is so long below your ankle and it is out of pomposity and arrogance, the person will go to hell. Salama asked the Prophet, are women part of this? Can women wear beyond that? Because if they don't wear beyond that, their legs will be exposed. The Prophet said women are allowed to wear a cubic length below even their ankles. He said, can they wear more beyond that? He said, yes. 2 cubic length below their ankles, they can wear it. And it is mentioned that, the scholars mentioned that if a woman wear her dress, she wore her dress and she passed through some dirt, and it carries some of the dirt, maybe some mud. So if she walk on the ground, the dried ground again, the dry ground purifies the dress that has passed through the dirt because of the importance of the covering up to that portion of their bodies. So it's very important. I cannot go and joke with it. Wear and cover your legs when you are going to pray. May Allah give us understanding. We talk about whether there are some organizations or some authorities in the Muslim circles or government that make sure that the government instruction or permission for Muslim women to veil in their various workplace, whether it's enforceable to make sure that no Muslim woman goes through some kind of molestation and some kind of trauma for trying to implement governmental directives. Yet there are. But the first point is your own self. For you to be aware and to prove to them that it has been allowed by government. The first point is your own self. You should be learned enough to have this, the date, and even the provisions, the constitutional provisions talking about this. Arm yourself with this so that you can respectably put it before any ignorant person who is full of stereotyping, Islamophobia, attacking you. You confront him respectably before you bring the intervention of anybody you can bring on board. And one of those that you can bring on board to help you in cases like this, maybe the newly established Zongo Development Fund, the coordinator, we can link up so that they will give a call from the presidency that, look, this is been allowed by the government directive to wear this. And also, we have the Muslim Judicial Service. You can call on their presidents. If you reach out, we can get you the numbers of their presidents and so many other people. The office of the chief imam, I don't know whether we can get people there. But if you're able to reach out to them, some of them are able to help you. These are the few things. They also have the Muslim Association of Lawyers. Even if you want a lawyer to represent you, all these things are available. You just have to link up to your brothers in town and all over so that we can always come together to support you, to be your backbone when you are facing some of these challenges. I think these are the few questions. And a sister who has taken the oath from today, may Allah bless her so much. May Allah, Jazakallah khair. Pray to Allah to strengthen her. Pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to support her, to pave her life and make it easier for her to live up to this determination she has taken today. And inshallah, Allah sees and answers our prayers. And I'll tell you a story. very short and briefly become meaningful. This is a private thing I want to share with you. And sometimes I'm not very confident sharing it because I've not retired yet. But let me just share with you so that just to buttress what the sister said. When I was back in Saudi, I was studying. Anytime I go to Hajj, I make sure certain things that I want in my life, I write them down. On the day of Arafah, then I start praying for it. May Allah make it easy for all of us to be in Arafah one day. The environment is unique. You will make dua and feel like you have been answered. The spirituality there is so powerful. Imagine having 4 or 5 hours praying alone. When it's about Zuhur time, according to the Sunnah, we pray Zuhur and Asr together. So that from that time up to before sunset, it's just prayers. You pray and pray and pray and pray and pray. If you are feeling sleepy, you sleep and wake up and pray. And one of the things that I was praying for, I'm very scared to mention this because I don't know where one will land into, is that I don't want the issue of interest in my account. And I wish I work at a place I don't even need to have a CD account. A CD account where the Ghanaian banks will be taking interest and all those stuff. And Alhamdulillah, I got it. The second thing I prayed for is a type of a workplace where there are not many women in the workplace. I'm not being biased towards women. I really respect women. I like a lot of women. But the challenge that comes with having left and right women, I'm talking about the caliber of women, not your types. They prepare home, and when they leave the house, they become a full weapon of man's destruction. Look, it's not just the physical adornment. Some of them comes with spiritual adornment. Wallahi lazim. There was a time, there's no much time to narrate some of these events. What? They're interested. I know they're hungry. So next time, inshallah, we'll have a beautiful section and we talk about unofficial things. And so many other things I've been praying for. And I've seen them. So sometimes if you are very sincere in your request like this, I believe that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you to be able to live up to that, to give you a good job that will be hijab friendly. Start praying for hijab friendly job. Hijab friendly home. Your husband should be the type who like the hijab. You never know where you're going to fall on. Some of the Muslim men don't even like a woman hijabating. They don't like hijabating women. You'll be very surprised. They wish to see their wives wearing the mini dresses, wearing trousers here and there, and they're proud for that. They are proud to see that. You start making all this dua, and every dua that you make about preserving your faith, these are some of the dua Allah answers so much. Allah is so pleased with it. The dua that you make that is geared towards preserving your faith, Allah loves it so much. So continue to pray. Anything that you need to preserve your faith, start praying about it, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will help you. May Allah bless all of you. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh, Jazakallah khairan for coming, for your advice, for your words of encouragement. The next item on our list is words of motivation from Dr. Khadija. We invite Doctor to come and then give us the words of motivation and his closing remarks. Malam Yusuf said he's going to do that when he's doing or before he does the closing prayer. So we invite Doctor to give us some words of motivation and also her closing remarks. Doctor, you are welcome.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. Yes. So for hijab issue, it has been a long-standing issue. But luckily, some of us, the profession in which we were, they couldn't come straight forward to say, stop wearing hijab.
As a student, that was about 20 years ago. First year, I've been dressing in hijab at home. So I'm coming wearing mufti. Definitely the hijab will come after secondary school. They look you at with an eye, you know that this person, the environment is not friendly. But then, we were some of the pioneers who started. So we've had some few difficulties. At a point, a lecturer will ask you, but you, why are you in veil? Then you say, no. At times we call them bosses. Boss is part of me. And it will end there. So we had a lot of challenges. But notwithstanding, there were a lot of advantages when you are in hijab. We might not see it because of the environment in which we find ourselves. But when we take our time and look at ourselves well, there are a lot of advantages. As most of the presenters said, it's a form of identity. It makes us unique. The truth of the matter is, I came here not quite long, but if I was not in hijab, today I wouldn't have been here. Because most people didn't know me. I was trained in Tamale. I worked most of the time in Tamale. Came to Kumasi for a program for 3 years. And then I had to come here because of family issues. So if I wasn't in hijab, probably my name, but you know whether I'm even a Muslim or I'm not. So I wouldn't have been here in the first place. So it's a form of identity. Makes us unique. And apart from that, hijab tends to protect us a lot. Even though in the Quran it says that it's a form of modesty, prevents you from evil and all that. But the kind of human beings that comes to relate with you, if you are in hijab, dishonest people will be afraid to come close to you. So it tends to protect you, make you focus in your studies or your career. And then also, as we go through our studies or work and career, it is important to know our faith. And once Islam prescribed this way of dressing to us, it's very important to abide by it. So it's not just a lifestyle, but it's the faith. We shouldn't feel intimidated. Ask me, why are you dressed like that? It's part of me. I remember someone told me that your veil, after your veil, infection prevention, the veil will touch bed, you carry it home. Then I said, then your masters better tell me to walk naked. In that case, I won't wear a dress. Then I won't carry any infection. How about my skin? It will definitely come in contact. And the conversation ended there. So we have to be strong, as most of the presenters mentioned, be firm in our decision, be focused, and shouldn't be intimidated. Currently, there is no law. The law in Ghana allows us to wear hijab. Even primary school, the kids are allowed to wear hijab to school. So we are all allowed, and there are documents to that. Currently, we have Muslim Workers Association. It's one of our priorities. So most of us younger sisters who are having issues, or sisters who are having issues with hijab wearing at workplace, especially the health sector, we come in to sort out and help in one way or the other. There are documents to support. So we have an association that actually follows up on this. So if anyone or any group have these concerns, we can actually work in hand with the Muslim Workers Association, and all these things will be resolved. So as you start, then you make contacts. So I'm not in trauma, so we can always come in to help and resolve these issues. And then these issues will be addressed. So that's all I'll have for you for as a word of motivation. We should take it as part of the faith and the deen, not just a lifestyle, as Sheikh already mentioned. And then we should be firm in our decision making. as some of the speakers also said, so let's try. You know what you're about. They already have a bad perception about us. You already have a lot, the non-Muslims who already don't want us dressed that way. But then we should give them a reason why they should allow us to work. And then they won't forfeit we working for them for we wearing the hijab. Because we are hardworking, we are intelligent, you know what you are about, you are not lazy. So they won't just use one of those things to find a way of knocking us out of the system. Okay. So I'll just follow up with the closing remarks. So I'll say a very big thank you to all the presenters for today. And then I would like to mention a few important points by the presenters. Actually, most of the things are important, but I might not be able to mention all. So the first speaker spoke about the challenges we face as sisters wearing hijab at work and school.
His observation and maybe some few words of encouragement. Is not of the same denomination with us, but he might be aware of some of the challenges that his colleagues or his brothers or others sometimes met them on us. So, Mr. Desmond, just a word or two of advice. Maybe it can be an observation of how the program has went and stuff. So please, you are invited. Thank you.
Okay, so I thank my sister for inviting me to this program. And honestly, the program has been a successful one. But with I only have one observation for you to be handled. With the speakers and the presentation they gave, the emphasis was on the hijab wearing on the part of the women and leaving the men behind. So I want to know if they have any intervention for the, as I can see, most of the leaders around are in some kind of covering around their heads. But for my brothers, on the other hand, they are not wearing anything. So I want to know if there are some interventions for them as well.
Assalamu alaikum. This is a very outstanding observation and one of the unique observations I've come across, and I was actually thinking about it. And then I briefly wanted to mention it when I was making the comparison between the two commandments that came to inform about the hijab. When God says that men should lower their gaze. You know, the commandment came, men lower their gaze, it said women to lower your gaze. Men preserve your private parts, it said women to preserve your private parts. But the women had additional, obligation, say do not unveil your beauty. Do not unveil your beauty. Why? Because the man is a seeker. He is seeking for that beauty. And that woman, her beauty is a sought after. And Allah wants a purified and pure society. So all of you lower your gazes, protect your private part. But you, the woman, being the object, being the one, the sought after, try to restrain your beauty. Do not allow him to see that beauty as someone he becomes your husband. You see that? So it is a woman that is beautiful. And the whole world understands this. That is why you see adverts. Most of the time they like the woman. You see that big billboard talking about biscuit, and there's almost a naked woman there smiling. Smiling. And I came across one of the lectures of one of our Sheikh Ahmadi that was talking about one of his favorite cars was the BMW. And there was a time, the latest model he was using, when it came out, he saw a very big advertisement, and they were saying that test drive her. So there was the car was there. It was a new car, Then they brought her to the system. And so there was this big billboard that was advertising the car. The car was there, and there's this smiling woman by the car. And they said, test drive her. Sheikh said when he saw, he didn't know which one is he going to test drive. Is it the car or the woman? So actually, the whole world understands that the woman, the power of the woman's body is irresistible. It is something that cannot, you can't do it without it. She is the most beautiful creation among humankind. No one can deny it. So the Quran gave her that obligation to restrain her full body so that the society will be purer and it will not lead to a chaos. When we have a society of women going almost naked, definitely we are going to have more crimes of rapes and so many things. We are not saying that you should rape a woman because she is not covered. But there is most of the time you cannot find a fire we can't find smoke without fire somewhere. There are always things that trigger some of these things. So you see, the Western societies, there's more rape than even societies that women cover. Because almost everybody is going naked. At workplace, in the cars, everywhere, people have things happening all over. Because the woman has been released completely. And the beauty that she carries, that Allah has given her, and the nature that God has created men upon, is something that you cannot withstand. So we have been told to cover, to lower our gaze, to preserve our private parts. All of us, we have the obligation. Don't even look so that you have a problem. But at the same time, don't let yourself to be looked at. So they have that obligation not to unveil themselves in that particular manner. So the men hijab, according to the men nudity in Islam, it starts from the navel to the ankle. Is it the ankle or the knees? From the navel to the knees. So that place, it should be covered. Men, we cannot wear some kind of very short dress, very short or shorts, like we normally have in the hostels. Some of our hostels, when I was in school, I refused going to the hostels. And I was almost sleeping in the mosque. Thank Allah we're having a mosque in the school. Because somebody can just wake up and then just walk the way the mother gave birth to him and go and bath and walk back. Come and dress to go to work, go to class. I don't know what is happening here. The hostels is something that you cannot withstand. So it's not allowed to see anything of a man between that portion. But for a woman, the whole body is part of the aura. That is why our commandment ended where the women have to continue, because they are the sought after. They have to be more preserved so that they can maintain their honor. You can't just go and be touching her, looking at what you're not supposed to look without a price. You have to look with a price. And the price is the dowry. You know the dowry? Yeah, pay the dowry and you can look more beyond what you can think about.
Jazakallah Sheikh for a wonderful response. I'm sure my brother is overly satisfied.
HAFIZ TV, unique every day.